Hello and welcome to Seahawk Talk on Wednesday, March 3rd. I'm Ed Habishaw and I am joined by our co-host, bring him in, Andrew Pizzelli. Welcome, Andrew. How are you?
How are you?
Very good. This is going to be a different open than we've had in the past because I'm not going to stick around for too much longer in this show. I'm going on vacation soon. But I also wanted to let folks know that I'm saying goodbye to his Salve Regina dad, my dad. He passed away on Saturday, and I'm glad that I have a moment to give thanks to the man that not only raised me, but 7 of my siblings. I'm one of 8 kids, and I just wanted to share some content on screen in the opening. And I think it's so appropriate that today's guests, Director of Counseling Services, Megan DeCarvalho, is joining us. Such a big help for the whole community at Salve Regina and what we're experiencing with COVID, but also grief. And I'm very happy to have had conversations with Megan. And Andrew, I want to thank you so much. Because you have provided so much content for us in the past, and I'm going to share on screen a slide that I made recently because I made ties for my brothers, and the ties have arrived. The ties have arrived.
Just in time.
Yes. So look at this. I've got somebody in my... Get over here. He's going to get his tie right now. He's got to crouch down. This is my little brother, Steven.
Thank you, everyone.
And his tie. So good to have Steven on the show.
Thank you.
He's in from Greensburg, Pennsylvania. And this is just it's a wonderful time for our family to gather and to grieve. One of my dad's favorite sayings. Steven's collecting a bunch of the favorite sayings. A-okay. And it is A-okay. Really, it was A-okay when Andrew Pizzelli captured this moment just over a year ago. February 16, 2020, my dad was on hand with his good friend John Rooney. And I want to give thanks to John Rooney for bringing my dad there, where I got recognized in the Words Unlimited Hall of Fame. Tremendous moment. You see my wife, Lynn, in the foreground, as she should be. I just want to say a lot of nice things about my dad. This is me and him at Matunic. This is my mom and dad, who raised 8 children. I'm lucky to be one of them. What a handsome devil here. I'm glad I got maybe something of it. And this is their wedding party when they got married in August. Yep, Lynn, there it is. They got married in August 1957. We've lost both our parents, and we're fortunate to be able to, while during COVID, to be able to gather and have a private funeral service, massive Christian burial on Saturday, and we'll be at the cemetery later on. Also, will be private ceremonies there. But Andrew, one of the things that my dad loved to say when we were involved in our Zoom gatherings was, man, I love this technology. I love this technology that we're able to see each other on the screen. And the technology was just amazing that we're able to do all of this. And certainly we love the technology. And I love the fact that you had the technology to bring this to the screen. So I want to thank you very, very much.
Well, you're welcome. first off, I mean, I know you know, but I'm going to say it again that we're all feeling for you and your family and praying for everybody, especially your dad, and that we love you. Salve community is with you. And as far as capturing the video, I learned from the best, which is the camera is always running. If Ed Habershaw is around, there's a camera running. And so this time the script was flipped. You're the one who is in focus, so I had to make sure that the camera was running. So,
Well, I must have taught my youngest brother well as well, because he's been videotaping this entire time.
maybe it's just a Habershaw thing.
Yeah. Well, I want to wish you, Gavin, Megan, and Scott well with the rest of today's show. Thank you for the opportunity in the first 5 minutes. Megan DeCarvalho, I see you in the background. Welcome to Seahawk Talk when you get here. Same thing for Scott Barrett. Appreciate you guys being on today's show. And I'm out of here.
Bye, Ed.
Take care.
Love you. All right. Well, I can't really say anything after that that I haven't already said or that Ed already said perfectly. So, fittingly, we're going to get right to Director of Counseling Services at Salve Regina, Megan DeCarvalho. Whoops. Megan.
Yes.
Welcome to the program.
Hi, Andrew.
I guess it's kind of a tough ask to follow that, but I don't know if you had anything. I'm not sure if you knew ahead of time what Ed was going through. If you had anything that maybe you wanted to offer right off the top here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I really appreciate Ed. When I talk about Salve, I actually had cousins that graduated from Salve, and one of them worked for Ed like years ago. So, and I had just reached out to Ed a couple weeks ago before the Seahawk Talk and shared my condolences for him. His mother and father-in-law passed away, I think, in the fall. And when I saw the email to the community that he lost his dad, I was like, you're not still doing this, are you, this week? But I do want to just send my condolences to him. And it was very sweet to meet his brother, Stephen, he said, right? Or
Yes.
Yeah, and then to see his wife, Lynn. And I appreciate him and his vulnerability and his realness, because I think, oftentimes it's hard. I've gone through personal grief and obviously counsel a lot of people that are grieving people, places, things. And sometimes we can feel maybe embarrassed to express those emotions, but it's so human. So I just, I was backstage so no one could see me, but I was giving him a lot of feeling and care. And I just appreciate his vulnerability. And I think modeling that for all of us, and especially for students, that we can be A-okay and we can be sad. And every time, often when I talk to students about grief, I talk about, if you're feeling sad, it's because there was a lot of love. And you can see in those photos, I think his dad's name is Jack, that there's a lot of love and a lot of people and a great appreciation. So I appreciate that he showed up today. He didn't need to do that, but his vulnerability.
I didn't expect him to be here either. So
he's a committed dude.
Yeah.
But I really, I value him modeling that vulnerability, that you can both be A-okay and be sad, and you're sad because there's so much love. So wishing you love, Ed. Lots of healing time and time with your family and memories. And it was nice to see you and see that tribute to your dad. So he'll watch it later because I know him, right?
Oh, absolutely. So a lot of stuff is going on right now and has been going on. We're going on a year. And from an athlete's perspective, now you're a former athlete yourself, and obviously having counseled athletes, you understand in normal times the challenges of being an athlete, focusing on your personal life and being an athlete and trying to balance all these things. It's hard enough as is. How much harder has it been on these athletes this year in particular with all of this change?
Yeah, I think there's certain vulnerable groups on campus, right? But I think athletes, due to the unpredictability of what's happened with their seasons and not knowing even still, like, how can we compete? How many games? What does practice look like? When can we start practice? Oh no, now we're shelter in place. What's happening with winter sports? There's so many unanswered questions in a pandemic, and especially for athletes. And I think about athletes that, they're a special breed of people. They're very competitive. They work really hard, and they're used to structure. They're used to having a very rigid set schedule and attending to those tasks both on the field on the court, on the rink, whatever it is, and in the classroom. And they've lost a lot this year. It's been a year now, but they've lost structure, level of competition. When I talk to some athletes, they're grieving that loss of strength that they had. They wish that they were stronger, in terms of practice and physically stronger. And then also, with the social distancing, part of what I've talked to some athletes about is really missing seeing their team, like moments on the bus and dinners and gatherings and just funny, spontaneous moments. And also that physical closeness. Some athletes have talked to me about missing when they score that goal or they come from behind and win and the team kind of rushes together and is physically close. So I think that there's a lot that athletes have lost. And I know our Salve students, time and time again, when I see our Salve students one-on-one or in a group, I'm reminded how resilient they are because, when I talk to them about grief or these things, the first thing that they say is, well, here's all the things I'm grateful for and here's what's going well. And they're really quick to kind of adapt, which doesn't surprise me, but also amazes me. And it's like that same thing we were talking about with Ed. It's like you're okay and you're sad. And I think allowing yourself to feel that sadness and adjustment is reasonable and allows you to kind of say, this isn't the same as last year. And I think it's particularly emphasized for our first-year students, our first-year student athletes, because they haven't gotten a taste of what their team culture is like yet. And also for the seniors that graduated last year and the seniors now, because they're closing. And not to say that it's not difficult for the sophomores and juniors, but there is this idea that there's time and it will be restored and they know what it was like. So when I've talked to a few teams, thank you for the teams letting me come in. It's very sweet to see their compassion. Like the upperclassmen were saying, I'm really sad for the first year students. And then the underclassmen were saying, I'm really sad for the seniors. But I do think having a little bit more time or having had the taste of what it is to be a normal college athlete matters a little bit, but also intensifies that grief for those groups.
Is it kind of a bit of a paradox where, the athletes have had more to lose, as you said, lose out on things that they're used to, but by the same token, being an athlete and the things that athletics instills in you kind of helps them handle losing that. And they have the tools about resiliency and visualizing success and overcoming things. It's kind of a bit of a paradox.
Definitely. I think when you're an athlete, you have a lot of exposure to a variety of emotions, right? So you're used to, especially as a college athlete. Like I played a lot of high school sports, but I didn't play in college, probably because I wasn't going to be as good. But they're used to adapting, like playing time, maybe having injuries, things shifting and losing games, or and I think athletes, a very good point, Andrew, like they're used to that resiliency of like, I've done hardship before, I can do this again. So they're encountering a lot of unpredictability, but they are a very resilient group.
Yeah. For all of us, everybody, what are some of the simple things that maybe we are not doing? Or maybe in other words, what are the easiest things that people can do to help their mental health right now? And you might not even be realizing that you're not doing these simple things that are affecting you.
Yeah, we get in these routines and you're like, wait. Especially, I don't know, I was just thinking about Ed again, but that's on my heart. But I think the simple things when we're really hurting is just focusing on our own body. So especially eating, sleeping, and time outside. I think those are really restorative. I know just personally and with other folks I've worked with loss, making sure your body is grounded, like you're feeling in your body. I know for me, I've been on the computer a lot more, so I'm not doing as well with exercise and outdoor time, but that's crucial to well-being. As same with the eating and sleeping. And I think for athletes, there might be a tendency when you're working really hard physically day after day, and I know our athletes are still working hard, but their schedules look different. They might not be as tired. And many people and many students don't get enough sleep, and just starting to think like, how can I can be better tomorrow if I've slept the day before. I will give a short plug. We have a sleep event next Wednesday night, 8 to 9. You literally just are going to sit there. No one sees your screen. It's a guided meditation. It's called Yoga Nidra. It's also available for the week afterwards. So if people want to sign up through Eventbrite, it's on our Salve today today. But I just think focusing on your own body and just restoring it and being really gentle. A lot of our students, and I'm like this, I'm a hard worker, I'm a perfectionist. And in a pandemic, one thing we can control is reasonable expectations that we might not be at the same level we were a year ago with a number of things, concentration, with our physical well-being, but just taking it day by day and making sure you're okay in your body and restoring your body, I think is number one. And then remembering, well, two more things I have. Remembering that we have really low, like many people might be experiencing like lower social stimulation right now and sensory stimulation. So trying again to get back in your body and do what you can to see people, or even if that's virtual like this. I feel connected to you and I feel connected to Ed having come on here, but remembering that you have a community and people care about you, especially at Salve. Professors are doing office hours. Like everyone's still here, even if they're not even in their office. Like reach out to people, ask for help. And then just visualizing, like you had said, Andrew, like visualizing that success in the future. You know, I think about college students. I'm rambling. This will be the last thing I say. When I think about college students, like this is their time to figure out who am I and what do I want, and starting to visualize a future. Yes, as an athlete, what do I want with the sport in my life long term, but also as just in your career, relationships. So I've really been encouraging a lot of students to think beyond right now, think beyond this semester, think about this summer. There's a lot of hope coming, right? I think today they said the president said the vaccine will be available for all adults by May. But I think there's also hope with the change of seasons, spring and summer and freedom. But start to visualize if you can, what do I want my summer to look like? What do I want my sophomore year or junior year? Where would I like to live? Who would I like to date? Like reminding yourself that you have autonomy over your choices. I think that's been taken from us a bit in the pandemic, but not forever. So
Yeah.
that was really long-winded.
No, that's perfect. You stole one of my next questions, which was
Okay.
to plug the yoga event.
Thank you.
And kind of piggybacking off of some of the things you said, though, you already kind of said it before about being it's okay to not be a-okay, or it's a-okay to not be okay. It's great that you guys not only are just there, hey, we're here to talk and to listen, but that you're doing events and things to be active and engaged with the community. Just talk about how important it has been, especially now. And maybe it's kind of, we've used this term before, silver lining. This isn't the right term, but I feel like there's been a lot of attention brought to mental health and awareness during this situation, during the pandemic, and how important it is to normalize that conversation. Just in general, if anybody at Salve needs support and wants to talk, what's available to them? What's the easiest way for them to get that help?
Thanks, Andrew. I think one cool thing, even before this, every year, so I've been here 4.5 years, and every year we see a greater percent of the student body coming in for counseling. And I think there is a real shift around normalizing this. And I like to point out, too, that groups that maybe underutilized counseling in the past, so underrepresented groups, men, students of color, first-generation students, international students, we're seeing more and more of groups that maybe haven't utilized counseling in the same numbers coming in more, as well as just our general student body coming in more. And when us counselors go in the community, when we join classes or we join teams or we talk to people just at other events, often students might say, I'm not sure it's bad enough, or I thought I had to have a serious diagnosed mental health disorder to come in and talk. And there's no qualification that we will say you don't qualify. Like your problems aren't big enough. Like that's not ever true. College is really stressful. You're constantly transitioning. We do have limits of once every 2-week counseling. So if someone needed more than that, we'd refer them off campus. But we'll work with someone to develop a plan that works for them based on their need. But students the easiest is to email us, Salve Counseling, at I got it wrong, Andrew. Counseling services at salve.edu is the easiest way to set up an appointment. We have to verify people are eligible, that they're full-time, where they're located at the time of the appointment, all of that. But we will do our best to get you in. I personally, just so I guess is like a reveal. I am like giving birth in a couple weeks, so we're down a little bit in terms of counselors. So we're gonna have a little bit more of a backlog than we usually do, but we really do a great job getting folks in. So email us counseling services at salve.edu. Kate, our office coordinator, gets back to people like this, and we really do welcome people coming forward to just take time to think about themselves and what they want, and talk about how their lives have changed post, in this pandemic, because all of our lives have changed.
Yeah. Awesome. Megan, thank you so much for coming on, taking the time. Great stuff. You guys are doing great work. Good luck with adding a family member.
Thank you.
Making your life a little more crazy, but in an awesome way.
Yes. Thank you for this time, Andrew. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take it easy now. All right. That's Megan DeCarvalho, the Director of Counseling Services here at Salve Regina. We're going to go next to our friend from the Newport Daily News, editor Scott Barrett. Scott, how are we doing?
We're doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Just kind of, it's been a little while since we caught up with you. Just kind of catch us up. How have things been? How's the winter been? The winter months at the newspaper, and trying to cover maybe the dribblings of sports that have been coming through, at least in the winter.
Well, I'll get to that. I did want to just take a second just to, Ed at the beginning of the show. I mean, just really, I didn't know Mr. Habishaw, but here's the one thing I know is that, he raised a great son in Ed. So my condolences to him and his family.
Yeah.
As far as what we're doing, I don't know. This is, we're hitting kind of a great time in sports right now. I mean, winter season's wrapping up. You got basketball semifinals and finals this weekend. You got hockey finals this weekend. Track kind of finished up last weekend. I'm not going to lie. There's been some hiccups along the way. Slight hiccups, though. I mean, really few and far between that have kind of ended the season for some teams. But for the most part, everyone has really done a great job of just kind of following the rules, making sure that this thing pretty much went off without a hitch. And it's been great for us. And we've been able to tell some pretty good stories, in the past few weeks since this thing got started. And football's on the way. It's already, practices are already kind of going now, and the state gave the okay for games. So we're back, baby.
Is it gonna feel, trying to cover a spring football season, kind of like it's football in reverse? Normally you start out, you're sweating, it's hot, it's August, it's September, and then you're covering games and it's freezing cold, maybe sleeting rain or snowing in November. It's gonna be the opposite now, right?
Right. No, it really is. And it's funny that you say that, because I've always said the same thing about high school tennis, where girls play in the fall. And they start in August, and it's hot and it's 90 degrees, and then they end their season in late October, where they're all bundled up and they have sweatshirts, and the boys start practicing when the wind's howling out in March out at Portsmouth High School, the windiest place on Aquidneck Island, by the way. And then when they finish, they're all in shirts and shorts and t-shirts. So yeah, it'll feel a little bit different, but everyone's got pads on, and it's still the same game. Game. And I couldn't be more happy for the coaches, all of whom I touched base with. Before the Super Bowl, I gathered everyone's Super Bowl predictions, including Kevin. They're all thrilled. They're thrilled that, that this is, they're not only going to be able to practice and put on pads and knock each other's heads around, but they're going to be able to play some games and get that competitive juice flowing again, which is really awesome.
Yeah. What has changed the most for you guys trying to cover games because of the pandemic, and what has stayed the same?
We just as a whole, as a whole at the newspaper, at the Newport Daily News, we've moved away from game coverage, like just, sending a reporter and a photographer to a game. This is something that we would do every day for, 10 years, my first 10 years here. And we're trying to move away from that, because with Twitter, everyone knows the score. Everyone knows the score by the time it, kind of wraps up. So we're trying to take a game and pluck something out of that game and write about that, have a focus and have a story that no one else is, is going to have. Like, you can go to a game. Let's say you go to a championship game, and, there's 3 television stations, and there's, three newspaper reporters, and they're all writing the same thing, that, Team X beat Team Y by this score. Well, all right, that's cool. And you can do that. Don't spend that much time on that. Find something within that game, write that story. That's the way we want to operate for, going forward. Give our readers, give our subscribers something that they're not going to find in a 2-minute broadcast at Channel 10. So
yeah,
it's just a different way of looking at things. And I think it's the future. I really do. Like, I don't, I would tell anyone the game coverage is, only mom and dad care about game coverage. I mean, let's find a different story. Let's find a different angle. Let's tell the story a different way. Let's not tell it the same way that everyone else is going to tell it.
Do you think because of having no games and having to focus on all those other things, it's helped you cultivate more of the personal relationships with coaches and players, and that'll really help pay dividends down the road when you are covering games, but you can ask different questions or dig deeper with a team because you've built that relationship?
I hope so. I mean, I hope that we've always had these great relationships with these athletic directors and these coaches. I mean, they're texting us all the time with either story ideas, but sometimes complaints too about certain things. My team's not getting enough ink, but that's fine. But yeah, I mean, I think between myself and Steve Rogers, that we've built these great relationships that really nobody else in Newport County has. So people look to us. People look to us to write these stories. And I'm always open. My email inbox is always open. If you got a story, I don't care if you go to Salve, I don't care if you're a high school kid, I don't care if you're a middle school kid. If you think you got a great story, you tell it to me, and I'll shoot you straight, and I'll say, yeah, I like this one. I like this one. This is something we can do. There was a girl, one of my favorite stories of last year. There was a girl, she was a cross-country runner at Rogers. And she was good. She was okay. She was kind of a middle of the pack kind of kid, but we didn't go to one of her meets. I think it was her sophomore year. We didn't go to one of her meets. We didn't cover her at all. And she sent me an email, like this long, very well-written email about how I always see football and I always see soccer and I always see field hockey. And you guys never read about cross country. And she's like, from August to November, I improved my time by 9 minutes, and nobody was there to see it. And I was like, I got to talk to this girl. This girl is fantastic. So I called her and I talked to her for some time, and she, and she told me her whole story, and I wrote a column about it and said, listen, this is kind of why we haven't covered it. And maybe it changes the way we do things. And it did. Yeah. It really did change the way we do things. We're always looking to change. We're always looking to be better. We're always looking to do things that's going to benefit our readers.
You've told me that an interesting skill or a hobby that you used to have was that you used to juggle. I challenge Scott that you are still juggling. As an editor at a newspaper, aren't you juggling all the time?
That's Steve. I don't know. That's you went a different way than I was expecting, because I didn't think you guys were serious when I filled out that questionnaire. I was just throwing ideas out. Yeah, no, we're today. It's funny that you caught me today. I mean, you're always juggling, and then life in general. My daughter's is in first grade. Her class had a COVID case. Oh. So she is so she's out of school starting today until next Tuesday, and I just found it out yesterday. So she's in her room right now doing distance learning. The juggling never stops. It really doesn't. From one to the other. But man, there's nothing else I would ever think about doing. It gets your pulse going, and if I love it. I love working for a newspaper.
Yeah. Any updates on any insight into the HGTV Dream House? I know we've talked about this on the program before. I haven't heard anything yet. I don't think I've won. I know we've said you would have been told right away, maybe fourth on the list if I had won. Do you know anything about what's going on with the Dream House up in Portsmouth?
I know one thing. Neither of us won. That's about it. But I actually do. I have a contact at HGTV. I emailed her a little while back, and she was the one who kind of tipped me off in the first place about all this. So hey, if anyone wins, listen out there, Seahawk Talk land. If anyone wins, I want the exclusive. Give it to me. I'll treat you well. Okay, awesome. We'll get a nice spread in the Daily News. But here's what I know: I didn't win.
Yeah, so that's two. We've eliminated two people.
Right, and I don't live anywhere near. I live in Portsmouth, but I don't live anywhere near there.
No, no, completely different. Hey, Scott, thank you so much for taking the time. Great to see you. Glad you're well. Stay safe, and can't wait to hopefully catch you out at a game sometime soon.
I hope so. And you know what? I hope for you guys especially that it paves the way. I really don't want to see Salve Spring athletes lose 2 seasons.
Yeah,
that's really unfair. And I'm looking forward to chatting with Eric after another CCC title.
Ooh, bold predictions.
No, it isn't. It's not bold. It's not. It's just.
I didn't say bold. I just said
Right.
predictions.
Right. It is a prediction, and it's a good one considering his track record.
Yes.
Go,
absolutely.
Eric.
All right. Awesome. Scott, take it easy now. Great to see you. All right. That's Scott Barrett, sports editor at the Newport Daily News. We're going to take a very short break and be back with Gavin Parent, our producer, to help wrap up today's show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Seahawk Talk. I'm your host, Andrew Pizzelli. I want to welcome into the broadcast now our producer working diligently behind the scenes, Gavin Parent. Gavin, let's pull you on in. Whoop, there we go. Can't see Gavin. Oh, there he is. Gavin, how you doing?
Good. How are you? I just want to take a quick moment. I wasn't able to talk to Ed before the show really because he was juggling a bunch of things, but if you guys know, I've been an intern on the show for about 4 weeks now, 4 or 5 episodes, and they brought me in like family. So someone to raise him in like Ed, just like very, very sorry for his loss. Like condolences to him and his family. I'm praying for you guys. Not just you, but you said you have a bunch of siblings as well. So your family, your siblings, definitely in my thoughts and prayers for us today. And, be with your family, take as much time as you need as well. Just I really appreciate you welcoming me into this Seahawk Talk family. So if Anthony needs, obviously I'm here for him. Just very condolences for him and his family.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have any thoughts? I always kind of like to get our producers' thoughts. They're working hard behind the scenes, but I know you're juggling things as well. But did you have any thoughts? Anything stick out to you else from today's broadcast that any of our guests had to say?
Just kind of the whole fact that people are losing their seasons, and I have a lot of friends that are football players at Salve because I lived with a couple of football kids my sophomore year, and they all tell me that it's just weird that they're going to have a season in the spring where it's kind of backwards. Like you mentioned before, it's backwards where you're starting in the spring, or it's going to be not kind of cold and it gets warm as you go on. It's kind of backwards now. So that's kind of what I was going to say towards that. But yeah, I have friends that are on the football team. I live with 2 baseball players. They're pretty pumped to get things back and going. So it's kind of some sense of normalcy in a way for athletics. Not complete normalcy, but more than we've definitely had in the past 6 months or so. So it just kind of feels good to be back in the right track, I would say.
Normal-ish C.
Yeah, normal-ish.
Trending in the right direction.
In the right direction for sure.
Gavin, thank you for your work here today. A lot of diligent work behind the scenes. Appreciate it.
Of course.
And hope you stay well. We'll catch you again next week.
See you guys.
All right, so that'll do it for today's program, Seahawk Talk. We're just once a week, Wednesdays, starting at 12:30. You can catch the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you're not social media savvy, you can go to the Salve Athletics website under Fan Zone, click on Seahawk Talk, and you can watch the live broadcast right there on the Salve Athletics website. And like I said, you can like, follow, and subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Just search for @SalveAthletics. Subscribe on all those platforms. And if you don't want to catch us live or can't catch us live and want to take Seahawk Talk on the go, you can subscribe to the podcast through Sounder FM or wherever you get your podcasts from. I want to give a big thanks again to our guests here today, Megan DeCarvalho, the Director of Counseling Services at Salve Regina, and Scott Barrett from the Newport Daily News. And once again, as we said, sending our love, thoughts, and prayers to Ed Habershaw and his family as they mourn the loss of his father, Jack. So that'll do it for today's program, everybody. I'm Andrew Pizzelli. Stay safe, and we'll catch you next week.